everybody, I hope you're all doing well. So, I have managed to finish the first two colours on the leaf wave we were doing on Tuesday. No, yesterday. Yesterday was when we did it. So I've managed to finish that bit and we're about to go in with the third and final colour. Now, you know that I was struggling with the first one, but actually I got into the rhythm of it quite quickly, and it was one of those cases where I think the thought of doing it was more scary than actually doing it, which is why it's always good to get started and not let your head get too into it. So we're going to be starting with the third and final colour, and I have a feeling we're going to be starting with that wedge stitch, using the wedge stitch a lot more. So what I'm going to try and do is do it like bit by bit, so like leaf segment by leaf segment, but as you can see it will all link up quite nicely. So I'm just going to get started because I feel like it's easier when I just get started, otherwise I psych myself out a bit too much. So we'll come up here and into the middle. So I wanted to get that curved. Because in the instructions, I know I said this yesterday, but I'll just remind you in case you've forgotten. Philippa has said that when you're working this stitch on the curved leaves, which is what we're going to be doing this big curve, lay the longer stitches of the second colour so the angle of the thread changes very gradually from the previous layer, positioning the wool over the first layer of colour and holding it with your free hand before committing to the stitch. So I think that that's relevant in this case too, even though we're on the third colour. I'm just going to come in here. That was a 3/4 stitch, so we'll do a long stitch. I'm going to try and remember as much as possible to do two-handed stitching. So then we'll come in for a 3/4 stitch. And then we'll do a super long stitch. Over here, start bringing it round. So I'm almost here. Try and take that in there so it'll cover the blue line. So we're going to come back to where I've done the first stitch. I did that as a long stitch. So we'll come in and do a 3/4 stitch. So just thinking I want to get the curve to there. So if I do, and underneath that I'll just do one to fill the gap. Longer one from here. So it's like that. So I'm just going to come in there to fill that gap. We're coming to the end of this little bit quite quickly. It's amazing how quickly this leaf has grown. I thought it was going to take a lot longer. Yes, just do a short one in here. Might be too long, that one, but I think I'll have to fill some of that gap well. So Anne Cleve had commented saying that it looks like quite a complicated piece this, but I'm doing well with it. It is definitely the most complicated, but I think it's because we've gone up a level in the kits. But what's nice is there are still elements from the other kits we've done. I mean, this is only my 4th kit, but there's still elements from the other kits we've done. So it's not too scary, and it's nice that you can split it into little bits. And even though this is a bit complicated, this bit, and I've definitely struggled with this bit, it's quite nice that it's not completely new. It's just building on what you already have learned, which is nice. And that fits in with what Philippa was saying in her Q&A yesterday about just giving it a go. And that's definitely the case. That's what I've definitely learned, because I only started maybe halfway through lockdown, I think, was when we did the first Redwork Rabbit kit. And that was the first time I'd ever done any embroidery, and I was definitely scared, especially because they're such beautiful kits. You don't want to spoil them, it feels like sometimes, but just leaving them there is even sadder. If you've got the kit but you're too scared to do it, it's quite sad that. So it's nice to just have a go, and like Philippa said, I've made lots of mistakes on the way, but each piece has still turned out really nicely. I've been really happy with them, and any mistake you make, you can always find a way around it, which is quite nice. So I thought I'd just give you a little update on how I'm going with this shading. So I'm just keeping on bringing the stitch round like this. Arthur's enjoying his breakfast. He's saved some of his breakfast, if you can hear that in the background. But yeah, so I just keep on bringing the stitch around. I thought I might have gone a bit too far on this bit, but I think it looks okay. I got a bit carried away with pulling the thread, so I'm just going to bring that to that side. And where I've got a gap, sometimes I just go into the dark colour. And it helps just bring it around in quite a natural way. That was a 3/4 stitch, so I'll go for a longer stitch. And 3/4, and I think we'll be needing a new thread. So I'm just going to come up here and carry on. I do think I've got my thread a little bit too long there. Actually, my judgment on where to cut the thread is not always very good. So another lovely comment we've had is from Nonnie Harris, who has said that she's very jealous that I get to stitch such beautiful kits and get some one-to-one tuition with Philippa. I'm very lucky to get to stitch these kits. I'm very grateful that Philippa has let me do this and film these videos. I've really enjoyed doing them. Sadly, I haven't had any one-to-one tuition yet with Philippa, just with the lockdown still being sort of a thing in the UK. So all of the kind of messages and advice that I've had from Philippa I have shared, so it's been really nice that we get to have Philippa's advice all together, although I am very much looking forward to being able to stitch with Philippa when we can, because I'm sure I will learn even more. But everything that I've learned has been from the videos which we've been sharing of Philippa's, from the instructions, because each kit has individual tailored instructions to that kit. And then the odd comment from Philippa, and when we've socially distanced seeing each other at the hub. So I've made sure that I've shared every comment, because if I need to hear it, there's going to be at least one other person who'll want to hear it, and we all like to hear advice from Philippa because she is an expert, and the things she knows about crewel work, what she doesn't know isn't worth knowing. But yes, I'm definitely very lucky, and I feel very grateful that I get to stitch these kits with you. So I need to angle this here, because I don't know if I mentioned this, each segment of the leaf, it moved ever so slightly, and I've realised I've not moved my stitch very much for a while. So here you can see a really like direct line of where this thread should be. So I'm just going to put that one in so I know what I'm getting to in this little stitch here. So that was a long stitch. If I come up here, I think this is what Philippa meant in the instructions, which I was saying before, where to gradually change the direction. So that's what I'm doing. I'm laying it on top to where we need it to go. So I think that is what was meant in the instructions. So we're just going to keep coming round. And this links back to what we were saying earlier about how easy it is to cover up mistakes sometimes, and why it's good to just give it a go, because I've made a mistake on the direction, but I'm able to just bring it around and cover it up slightly. And it's those little things which make everyone's designs ever so different. We could all stitch the same one, we could all be stitching the Tree of Life, but each one would be ever so different, just from how we've done it. I know that I'm meant to be two-handed stitching, and I'm currently not, but I'm not quite sure how I'm meant to change the direction, make sure that I'm laying the thread in the right bit when I've got one hand underneath. So I may have to ask Philippa how you do that, but if you know, comment below, because that would be very useful. So linked to the two-handed stitching, Mary Holbrook left a really useful comment that it is the dominant hand which goes underneath. So I wasn't going crazy when I found it easier with the left hand on top and the right hand underneath. That's the way it is. So if you've been struggling with two-handed stitching like me, and you were struggling to know which hand to put where, I'm right-handed, and so my dominant hand's the right hand, so that's the one which I'm finding it easier underneath and is what most people find. So it's worth trying that way. So just coming on to the last stitches at the bottom, and I'm just trying to get that curve in. Put that in there. Really happy with how this has come out. I'm actually amazed that I did it. I was really scared of doing this one, which is probably why I've put it off for so long. But I'm really happy with how that's turned out. So tomorrow we're going to be going back to the Crewel stem stitch and Andrew Wales commented actually about my Crewel stem stitch, saying that the reason that it might be slightly bumpy is because I'm coming up between two stitches rather than the back of the first stitch. So what I'm going to go do is go back and watch Philippa's video again, because you can never watch those videos too much. I feel like every time I do learn something from them, so thank you for that, Andrew. So tomorrow we'll be coming back to doing the Crewel stem stitch, so then we can start doing these flowers which go over it, because we always, or leaves, it's not flowers, because Philippa always says, always do the background before you do the foreground. So I thought we'll finish off these and I can do the Crewel stem stitch properly, make sure we're going the right way, we're coming up at the right part of the stitch, and then we can move on to do some more of the foreground work. So I'll see you tomorrow.